In the Absolute Universe, Superman did not arrive as an infant. Kal-El came to Earth as a teenager, old enough to remember Krypton and old enough to watch it die. He saw his world consumed by its own arrogance and inertia, and that experience radicalized him. When he arrived on Earth, Kal-El vowed that this planet would not share Krypton's fate. After briefly finding refuge with the Kent family in Smallville, Kal-El caught the attention of the Lazarus Corporation, a vast, borderless corporate empire led by Ra's al Ghul. When Lazarus descended on the Kent farm, Kal-El fled, choosing exile over endangering the people who had shown him kindness. For years, he lived as a ghost, helping where he could, never staying long enough to be captured, but Lazarus never stopped hunting him. Years later, when they finally succeeded in capturing him, they tried to break Kal-El and remake him into a symbol of their authority, a weapon to enforce their vision of order. Kal-El escaped, but when he returned to Smallville hoping to reclaim a sense of home, he brought Lazarus with him. The town was placed under siege, cut off from the world, sacrificed as an example. To protect the people, Superman ordered Sol, the living intelligence bonded to his suit, to prioritize civilian safety. Sol became a fortress beneath Smallville, shielding the town from destruction, and then Brainiac intervened. Corrupting Sol from within, he turned a symbol of protection into something hostile. As Smallville was cornered, Ra's al Ghul arrived wielding a kryptonite blade, offering Kal-El a choice: surrender, compassion, embrace domination, and become Kal-El Ghul. And I love that name so much. But Kal-El refused. Even when Sol erased himself rather than be used as a weapon, and when Ra's ordered civilians slaughtered, Superman would not yield. He offered himself in exchange for the town's safety, and Ra's refused, revealing that obedience mattered more to him than human life. In response, Kal-El tore the S-shield from his chest, reclaiming its meaning. Once a mark of shame on Krypton, it had always truly stood for compassion. His act even inspired Ra's al Ghul's forces, the Peacemakers, to stand down. They didn't sign up to shoot American farmers. Using Sol's remains and the Sunstone of Krypton, Superman forged a blade of his own. When the swords clashed, the kryptonite shattered, and Ra's was defeated. Ultimately, Lazarus fell through refusal to cooperate rather than excessive force. Smallville would not kneel, the Peacemakers wouldn't fire, Superman would not comply. With Ra's imprisoned and Lazarus exposed, Kal-El stepped into the open. He's no longer on the run, he's returned to Smallville and reclaimed the Kent farm. Here, he took the name Clark Kent, choosing to live as the Kents had lived. Most importantly, he now decided to step out into the open and do something about the injustice in the world, and that choice has made him enemies. Superman has begun holding the powerful accountable, exposing exploitation and forcing elites to change their ways. And while many have rallied to him, others are watching closely. One of them is Hawkman. Now, this issue tells us a lot about Hawkman, but he had previously appeared in the Absolute Evil special as a tool of the elites. He's a member of the Justice League, a group that believes order must be preserved at any cost, but in the Absolute universe, order equals evil. When Oliver Queen planned to become a vigilante and do something about predatory elites preying on children, Hawkman was dispatched to deal with him by smashing his skull open. Where Superman represents accountability from below, Hawkman represents control from above, a warning about what Kal-El could become if he ever chose power over people. Hawkman presents himself as an experienced hero, someone who has been active since World War II, but unlike Superman, he has operated from the shadows. In his mind, he genuinely believes that what he's doing is for the betterment of the world. He claims that his actions have saved billions of lives, but in reality, he's a flunky. We're shown his origin early on. Carter Hall had been an archaeologist working for the Lazarus Corporation, looking for the tomb of Teth Adam. On the way down, as he confirms that they found the right tomb, he notices that the hieroglyphs seem to suggest that Teth Adam had been visited by aliens, and it is at that time that his companion cuts his rope, revealing that he was a spy for the Nazis. Turns out the Nazis pay better than Ra's al Ghul. While scrambling for his life, Hall grabbed a metal object which turned out to be an nth metal mace, which saved his life. And he repaid that betrayal by turning the traitor into pulp. So far so good, you might argue. However, the Absolute Evil special showed what Hawkman got up to in the 1950s. He had caved at the first sign of trouble, testifying against the other heroes to a Senate hearing. His actions led to the murder of other heroes like Sandman and the retirement of others like Wildcat. This is how he ended up as the government's pet superhero, used to deal with people that try to upset the natural order. And I think it's pretty important to highlight how he acts in secret. He's not surprised that Superman hasn't heard of him, that's how he likes it, but he argues that this is the best way of dealing with problems, not by drawing attention to them. It's also worth noting that by being so secretive, it's hard for him to be interpreted as a symbol. And when he talks to Superman, you can practically hear the disdain in his voice. His frustration is compounded by the fact that Superman keeps vanishing for a few moments to deal with emergencies elsewhere. Superman can deal with these pretty quickly and keep track of his conversation with Hawkman, but his seeming lack of focus angers Hawkman. He argues that the way of the world is set in stone. It's better for those with power to work with those in power to compromise to make things better. He doesn't see himself as a tool for the tyrants. He thinks he's holding them back and making them do something good. But Superman cannot get behind that philosophy. He is essentially the opposite. Remember how his father had tried to deal with the danger to Krypton through the proper channels and was imprisoned. Kal-El decided to leak the information, and how the Science Council were hiding the truth to save themselves. So when danger rears its head again, thanks to rogue peacemakers unleashing a monster from Lazarus's labs, he brings Hawkman along with him forcibly, which does not go down well. Hawkman tries to show his dominance by hitting Superman with his mace several times. Granted, he does draw blood and delivers a speech about how with his powers Superman never needed to learn how to throw a punch, but ultimately it is not enough. With one blow, Superman sends Hawkman crashing down to Earth, smashing through multiple layers, which is very symbolic. Superman tells him to either help him face off with the monster terrorizing Metropolis, this universe's version of the Parasite, or to get out of his way because he's done talking. Now, I must admit, as much as I enjoyed seeing Hawkman's origin, I am a little bummed out that we didn't see an origin for the Parasite. He's one of the most interesting villains in Superman the Animated Series, a meek, dull man who got drunk on power, who also acts as an allegory for sexual abusers. And here he's just a big blob of a monster that got let out of a box. There's still time to learn more about him, but I get the feeling that he isn't actually that important to the story in the long run. This is about Hawkman and, in future issues, Black Adam. One thing I will say though is that the supporting characters did get some time to shine here. Lois Lane turned up for an interview at the Daily Planet, shocked to find that the iconic building with the globe on top of it was sold off and turned into apartments years ago. Now the Planet is run out of a small office in an inconspicuous street. What's even funnier is that traditional newsman Perry White had just been fired and replaced by Jimmy Olsen as the editor. Perfect commentary. But the strongest moment of all comes from Lex Luthor's role. You'll recall in the last issue how Brainiac quit Lazarus and decided to recruit Lex Luthor to his cause. Now, the absolute Lex Luthor is a family man living a quiet life in the suburbs. He left the hustle and bustle behind him and is fully dedicated to his family. Even when Brainiac, disguised as a bald Lex Luthor, offers him a blank check to join him, he says that he doesn't want to be separated from his family. So Brainiac assesses the situation and comes to the conclusion that it is the family that is holding Luthor back from his true potential. And so he drops his disguise and turns his arm into a chainsaw and seems to massacre the lot of them. This issue really makes it clear that the Absolute Universe is not broken by accident. It has been deliberately hollowed out. Hawkman is its enforcer, a hero who mistakes control for responsibility and secrecy for wisdom. The Daily Planet, once a public institution, has been reduced to a backroom operation, its voice diminished and its influence deliberately blunted. And Lex Luthor, a man who chose family over ambition, is punished for opting out of the system altogether. Absolute Superman 16 is available now from all good comic shops.
I would encourage you to research your local comic shop, and if you don't have one, I'm certain there are dozens of good stores nearby that would be happy to mail you your comics. If you're opposed to the idea of cluttering up your home with comic books, then you can get this one digitally from places like Amazon as well as Neon Ishiban. Personally, I prefer physical comics, but I do like the convenience of having thousands of comic books accessible from my phone. But you do what works best for you.
A small update on my physical comic book collection. Not only have Mile High Comics had another 70% off sale, but my beloved Gosh Comics in central London are hosting a special Batman event with over 20,000 items available, including comic books, statues, figures, and even a Batarang. Oh, my poor aching wallet. Next time. I'll be back shortly with a video talking about Absolute Green Lantern number 11, where Joe Mullen and friends find themselves on the run from Hector Hammond and his Obsidian Beast. After that, I'll also release a video talking about Batman number 6, which picks up in the immediate aftermath of Bruce Wayne and Dr. Zeller's not date, as Hugo Strange unleashes his monster men on Gotham. Hope to see you then.